Good morning. This video is a continuance of the videos I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, because people need to know who has to run this country, who has to be in control of this country, and who cannot be in control of this country. And who cannot be in control of this company is the premiers and the parliaments of the states and the Prime Minister and the Parliament of the Commonwealth. They cannot be in control of it. They do not have that authority. Is that understood? Yesterday we filed the same documents we filed a couple of days ago into the House of Lords, the High Court of England, into the Royal Court of Justice in England. The reason being, these are separate courts, needed to be filed, and it's filed. Now, we'll start at Section 68 of our Constitution. The Command-in-Chief of the Naval and Military Forces of the Commonwealth is vested in the Governor-General as the Queen's representative. Who are they? Commonwealth Police, Army, Navy, Air Force is vested in the Governor-General, not in the Federal Parliament, not as a tool to control the people. At the state level, the police, the authority over the police, is vested in the governor or governors of the respective states, not the government or parliament pretending to be a government, because they're not. A pack of liars. Now, as explained, quarantine, which they've been exercising, is the business of the governors of the Federal Parliament after the Governor-General puts the issue in place. He proposes laws in relation to quarantine. Now, the business of the Federal Parliament means they have to debate it, sort out any problems, hand it to the Senate. The Senate makes sure it complies with the Constitution and hands it back to the Governor-General to sign on behalf of the Queen or the reigning monarch. That then binds the Crown to a law made pursuant to our Constitution. That is a very clear and precise way of how our system works. Now, doesn't matter what lies the Federal Parliament state. And then there is this. This is Section 70. In respect of matters which, under this Constitution, pass to the executive government of the Commonwealth, all powers and functions which at the establishment of the Commonwealth are vested in the governor of a colony or in the governor of a colony with the advice of his executive council or in any authority of a colony. They're all vested into the Governor-General. Shall vest in the Governor-General or in the Governor-General in council or in the authority exercising similar powers under the Commonwealth as the case requires. In other words, the Governor-General controls the police. The Governor-General controls the military. Now let's get to the Federal Police, or the Australian Federal Police. You are employed by us, the people, under the direct control of the Governor-General. If you aren't, you have no authority. You understand that? No authority. Now, what is your duties? To uphold our Constitution. If you don't want to do that, then you're not acting in accordance with our law. You are required to uphold Commonwealth law. The Commonwealth Criminal Code is very, very clear. It states, Section 80, 1AA, 1AB, 1AC, and so on, any person who does anything to overthrow or take control of the Commonwealth of Australia, contrary to our Constitution, is guilty of a serious crime. Not a minor thing, not something you can walk away from. It is a serious crime. The penalties are imprisonment for life. It has certain conditions. Do they know? Yes. Why? Because I've told them for the last 5 years. So they know. Personally, to some of the ones in Western Australia and on social media, which I know they've got, and in writing to Scott Morrison on the 7th of January last year. Now, it doesn't matter what lies you tell. I am fully aware of what took place in 1988 in relation to the federal government realising, the federal government purported, because they're not a government, they're a parliament, realising they've been operating unlawfully. And they did. Rather than front up to what they've done and what has happened in the past and correct it, they decided that, oh no, we'll find a different way. We'll have a constitutional convention, which doesn't exist, by the way, for them. Nothing to do with them. And what we will do is we will change the Constitution. How did they do it? Simple. They produced their own version of our Constitution and changed the annotations. The only trouble is, the annotations they put there, they say it's the authorised version. Authorised by who? The political parties? You have no authority. You have none. The annotations to ours are the Hansard of how the people who framed our Constitution did that job. What their interpretation was, what they expected the interpretation would be. That's why it was widely used by the High Court up until a couple of years ago. While it isn't directly law, it is the interpretation of our law. Are you bound by it? Yes. Yes, you are. Because if the High Court rules according to that, on that interpretation, you're bound by it, all right. Now, getting back to the Australian Federal Police, who are supposed to be the Commonwealth Police, it is your duty, given the current circumstances, to take into custody certain people in this country at this time. Who? To start off with, the Chief Medical Officer. They're interfering with the running of this country for committing an act of treason against the people. I don't care what his opinions are. If people come into this country and they have a disease, you can quarantine them. If they're sick, quarantine them. That's quarantine. Objects come in this country carry diseases, you can impound them. Quarantine. Now, lock down this country? No, that's an act of treason. You have no authority. You didn't ask the people. You are required to ask the people, but they cannot give it without a correct referendum in every state according to section 128 of our Constitution. So you took control of this country and called yourself the National Cabinet. There is no such thing. Where in the Constitution do you get the authority under any circumstance to take control of this country, lock people in their houses, lock them in areas, charge them, arrest them, beat the crap out of them when they don't do what you tell them? Don't say you don't. The premiers of each state are well aware of the actions of their police force. You're well aware of it. You've actually passed what you call laws. That's a joke. It isn't a law. It can't be a law. It's in excess of the authority granted by the Constitution. It is an act of treason, and you're responsible for every assault on every person. Every living, breathing man, woman and child. You touch them, you've assaulted them. No crown, no authority. You removed it, you have no authority. Now, the same goes at a federal level. You allowed the states to deploy the military at these checkpoints. Where did you get that authority? We didn't give it to you. We don't have a Governor General. He's just a lying fraud who never was employed under a lawful letters patent. Oh, look at that. Bob Hawke issued a letters patent to establish the Governor General. Nonsense. And then Kevin Rudd. Bigger load of nonsense. Two filthy traitors. Still traitors. But the breach of the Commonwealth Criminal Code, when they overturned the lawful constitution of this country, made pursuant to the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK. They've overturned it. It is a criminal offence under federal law. Don't like it? Tough. It is the job of the federal police to get off your backsides and arrest the Parliament. Every single one of them. And that so-called Chief Medical Officer and the Governor General. If you don't do it, I don't care. Really, I don't. I would hate to see good blokes, and I've met quite a few of them, I'd hate to see them go to jail, but that's where you're going. You see, the documents I filed was in Qatar, in the service of the Queen. They have 40 days to answer those documents. They must answer them according to our Constitution, which means they issue the arrest warrants or the federal police do. Your choice. If they issue them, you go down too. It is now coming up, but I already was aware of it. This country, through Julie Bishop, Julie Gillard, Kevin Rudd, all the Prime Ministers and senior staff in each of the political parties, have not only been laundering money into America and into England, you've stolen off the people all our public utilities. You stole them. That is a Commonwealth crime that the federal police can deal with. Why aren't you doing it? Because you couldn't be bothered. You're too busy looking at, oh, look at the people, all the refugees. Refugees, my fat foot. They want to come in this country. How come they come past 7 or 8 other countries that sympathise with them to get here? They're invading it. But that's a different issue. The issue is, at hand, these politicians set up the system that allowed this country to burn. As explained previously, they allowed it to burn by restricting the clearing of properties and the cutting of fire breaks. And Di Natale understands that totally. That's why he bailed out. I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't sold his property and disappeared overseas. He is a filthy little traitor who will stand trial for the murder of all those people that got burnt. Every single politician involved will stand trial for that. That is murder, because you put through policies against common practice to backburn and everything else, and you refuse to backburn. There was a fire here in Geraldton, and they were just standing around the outside watching it burn right up to the fire breaks. And what a pack of losers. Why didn't they light it up and backburn towards it against the wind, getting rid of the heat build-up? Because that's what it does. It's effective. Do I know what I'm talking about? Yes. I did the FISA course in the police force. I got the certificates. Those guys knew what they were doing because it was based on massive fires in Dwellingup. Now let's get back to the real issue. That is part of it. That is mass murder from this Parliament. Now, this so-called National Cabinet was well aware last year, and it is a fact, can be proven through the CSIRO, they are aware of this virus. How far the virus could go, they knew. They waited until the colder season because they knew it couldn't stand heat. and then they loaded it into our country via planes and ships. Right up to the fact that they brought 3 ships into Western Australia with Mark McGowan allowing them to do it. Oh, I oppose it. No, you didn't. If you opposed it, you would have stopped them disembarking. It is a state issue. You could have stopped them and turned them around and sent them back. You didn't. Why? Because you wanted it. Just like Scumo and the rest of his mates. What happened after that? Everybody who died as a result of it, everybody who dies of a result of it, you are guilty of their murders, as I said before. This is an issue for the federal police. When are you going to get off your backside and do your job? And don't come threatening me, because I'm not interested. But know this, at the end of 40 days, the people in this country have the right to lawfully rise up against you. You pull your tasers, they can pull a weapon. You pull your gun, they can too. It'll raise a really dangerous, stupid situation that you, the federal police, can rectify now by arresting the Parliament for treachery to overturn our Constitution. Don't say they're not doing it, they are. If the rumour has it, what Christian Porter has done, they are looking at turning this place into a republic against our will. You know what's going on. Get off your backside and do your job. If your bosses say no, arrest your bosses. Can you do it? Yes. Can you? Yes. You're employed by us, not by your bosses. They are there to guide you and instruct you, but they cannot give you an unlawful instruction. You understand that? Every single individual federal police officer, every single individual state police officer are responsible for your own actions. Meaning you can exercise your authority under the law and arrest these peanut politicians. Leave the people alone. Let them protest as long as they're not breaking the law, and none of them are. It isn't a law that we're in lockdown. That's a nonsense, and they have the right to ignore it. You cannot quarantine anybody in this country. You can make them stay in their house if you detect a serious disease. But they've never done that in the past. They've made the family of the person stay in the house and put the person with the disease in hospital for monitoring away from anybody else. That is not quarantine. You have no right to quarantine us. Only people who come in, objects that come in, machinery, products that do not comply with our health laws. You cannot pass a law taking possession of our rights. You certainly cannot pass any law to overturn our Constitution, which is what you've done. And the violence is a violence used by this National Council through the police forces in this country against the people of this country. Understand that that is one of the requirements of these charges of treachery. The other one is, did you know? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because I've pushed it in your face for 5 years. I've pushed it through the courts for over 30 years. Right back until 1975. I've pushed the issue of our law, our Constitution, our rights, and acted accordingly. You get some guts. Get off your lazy backsides and do your jobs. You police officers are personally responsible for the actions you take against the Australian people. You understand that? Do you? They can sue you individually. Oh, I could lose my pension. What about if you lose everything you've ever worked for? Because if you're convicted of treason, which is what you're doing, as federal and state police or anyone else who touches any of the public, you lose everything you got. Doesn't matter about your family, that's not taken in consideration. If the family owns a company, you lose it. Gone. Forfeit to the Crown. Us. It's the Crown in right of the people. We are the Commonwealth. There is no such thing as a government of a state. It is a three-tier governing body. There is no such thing as a government of the Commonwealth. It's a three-tier governing body. And there is absolutely no such thing as local government, which are registered companies exercising lies, fraud and theft on the people. Do you understand what I'm saying, or do you want me to repeat the lot? Wake up, get off your backside and do your job. I don't care if a superintendent or inspector or the commissioner told you you can't do it anyway. You are responsible. Read the law. Read the Commonwealth Criminal Code. They've taken our Constitution, this one, and replaced it with the green mucus one. That is overturning our Constitution. They've changed the text to read for them, to give them authority over us. Section 51. The government only has the power to pass laws for the good governance and the well-being of the Commonwealth subject to this Constitution. They're not. They've overturned it. It is your duty to uphold the federal law, which is the Commonwealth Criminal Code. Get off your butts and do it. And can state police officers do it? Yes, you can. You can act under any act that's been assented to and lawfully passed by a lawful parliament. You can. Get off your butt and do it. And that includes federal law. It's time you did your duty. It is your duty. Arrest the parliaments. Throw them in jail where they belong. Let them see what it's like. Let their families see what a pack of criminals they are. I don't think half of them know. I really don't think half of them know. Because they lie to us, why wouldn't they go home and lie to their family? I can tell you now, if they told their family are just as guilty as they are. Time to wake up. I hope you have a nice day. I expect to see you people, being the police and the federal police, start arresting these clowns and locking them up before they totally destroy our country. Your country too, you clowns. You've got to wake up to that fact. Your kids, your grandkids, are going to have nothing if we get a republic. A republic means, like everywhere else, go to Indonesia. You own nothing. The corruption in the republic is so bad, the money we give them goes to all the executives into their pockets and never ever filters down to the people. They still live in poverty. It's like that in every country. Look in China. People are expendable. You open your mouth, they shoot you or run over you with a tank. Wake up to that fact. A republic is a satanic dictatorship to destroy our way of life. We are a Christian country. Restore our Christian values. Restore our Constitution based on the Bible and all the common laws of England. Because that is freedom. The only freedom you're going to get. You don't do your job, you police, then whatever the public do to you, too bad. Can you fine them? No. And any magistrate that upholds the fines, or what you call fines, is a total idiot and a traitor. Wake up to that. It's in your hands, and you better start waking up, all you magistrates and judges. You are going to be used as the scapegoats for these politicians when things go wrong. They're going to say, oh, well, they didn't have to uphold it. Yes, they did, because you've ordered them to. And you who order them, being the politicians, are guilty, and you who receive those orders and abide by it are guilty as well. And as for you registrars, you have no authority to carry out judicial functions. Time for you to wake up. Get out of our courts. You're supposed to be clerks of court and deputy clerks of court. That's our law. Get back under our law. I hope to see the federal police making arrests straight away. There's no reason why not. Go and take out a warrant and go and arrest Scumo and its so-called cabinet, national cabinet. They are not operating under the Constitution. They are operating outside of it. They are already usurped the authority of the Commonwealth of Australia. Get off your backside and do your job.